Greetings and good mornings, and welcome back to 5 Minute Monsters, your Spark Notes on TTRPG monsters. Now, today's episode is about the Azer, and you might be wondering, well, who is the Azer? The Azer is a fire elemental. They're typically smaller, stocky, mighty creatures. Essentially, if you're just looking at one, you might just think it's a fire dwarf. But they have no direct connection to dwarves outside of, a penchant for being held up in mountains. So you might be wondering, what exactly is an Azer? And essentially, like I said, they're elementals. So while they're not dumb, they're very driven and singularly motivated. So whatever their life purpose is, whatever their dream or goal is, that's all they fixate on. Azer tend to make exceptional workers, excellent workforces, so much so that no matter where you go, 9 times out of 10 the Efreet have more than likely tried to or successfully enslaved them. So you might be wondering, where would you find Azers? And the brief of that is the fire plane. They're elementals, so through and through you're going to find them on the fire plane. Now, I don't know if your world's anything like mine. I don't have a fire plane the way most TTRPGs tend to set up worlds and planes and the elemental bounds and all that good stuff. So if I had to come up with an alternative, I would say anywhere where concentrations of elementals could be found, i.e. natural areas of heat such as volcanoes, or perhaps with giants and the 10 to elemental centers that they create around them. Next, you might be wondering, when Azer? And looking at both Pathfinder 2e as well as Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, they're fairly low level as far as challenge rating, so I wouldn't fixate too terribly much on seeing them as, an endgame threat by any means. However, if you're fighting one directly, it might be something, an icebreaker to an adventure of level 1s or level 2s, someone to show them combat. However, if you put them in a room and you allow that driven mindset to really take over, they might be able to permit to be a formidable force, even up to your lower to mid levels. If you want to make them more scary, my first recommendation is, frankly, give them class levels. It's an underappreciated tact that I think a lot of people should take advantage of, and it doesn't have to be a whole overhaul, but give one rage, give one the ability to inspire his teammates, give one a couple of spells. There's easy ways of defining these things visually to players that don't require as much burden on the DM. So lastly, you might be wondering, why Azer? And really, they're a good basis, a good foundation for an opponent. A lot of times, again, you may not face constant opposition against the Azer unless you are just diametrically opposed to them. However, if a BBG has gotten in the good graces of the Azer, they may be a formidable force that you have to deal with, experiencing them and their driven, dogged personalities around every bend. Now, with that, I want to go over a couple interesting things and a couple of ideas that I think draw me to the Azer. First and foremost being that they're not naturally born, not how any creature, gives birth to another. Much like Wonder Woman, they are forged, they are made, and I think that speaks to me. That's interesting that it takes a master craftsman, whether it be an Azer or someone who is well enough aware of fire elemental rituals to be able to craft and bring to life an Azer. A couple of ideas as I'm thinking them over is, I don't have a fire plane in my world, as previously mentioned. I technically don't even have dwarves, video pending on that one. As I've begun to reshape my giants, I find myself drawn to connect elemental titans with other elements, and perhaps giants, specifically fire giants, in their phase of life might make the Azer to help their crafts and push their agendas, very career-driven in that stage, but you'll hear about that in Giants Part 2. The other idea that I have with that is, I've always been driven to the Azer's design. I don't know what it is about the stocky, angry fireman towards the front of the 5th edition monster manual, but something's always stuck out to me. Kind of wanted to help use that to inform a bit more of the character direction. To the best of my knowledge, there's no official tie between the Azer and its fire and that associating anything. However, I think it should. I'd say we straight up make them a member of the Charmander family, and if that flame goes out, that means they're dead. That can help define personality, that can help define fear and motivation, that can help define any number of things. Again, if we're just working to fill out that Magpie's world building method in my first video, there's a lot of things you can use elements of storytelling to help inform a creature. And that's the Azer, or at least your 5-minute monster version of the Azer. I'll throw up some pictures and leave some links to some excellent videos that go a bit more in depth, that talk about different elements of them, but ultimately what I want the series to be is a short, quick, digestible, throw it in your watch later, watch it while you're doing a quick chore or something, to have an understanding of learning a new monster that you may have otherwise not had the time or care to look into. Thanks and thanks again, Magpie responsibly. And if you're feeling up to it, maybe check out another video. I'm pretty happy with a couple of them.